institutions across protocols and extensions of Bitcoin that have not yet been conceived and have not yet been invented. So when you consider how the idea will ripple through time, through space, through complexity, through the endless ways that humanity can organize itself, then you grasp the full scope of Bitcoin. How will an artificial intelligent entity created in 10 years, living in cyberspace 50 years from now, integrating with a million other AIs, use Bitcoin? Right? This is a profound chain reaction. It's a fire in cyberspace. It's viral through time, through space, through humanity, through all of the various vestiges of humanity. And of course, once you get that idea, you realize that you don't really know everything that's in the minds of 8 billion people or 300 billion corporations or a billion things that are yet to come. And with that comes humility, and with that comes a thirst to keep studying Bitcoin. You'll never be done learning about Bitcoin. Rule number 4. Bitcoin's powered by chaos. When you take your money and you put it in a bank and you save it in a fiat currency, you're loaning your money to a country. When you take your money and you buy a stock, you're loaning your money to the management team of a company. When you take your money and you buy a building, you're loaning your money to the mayor of a city. When you take your money and you buy a piece of art, you're loaning your money and investing your money in a culture. When you actually buy Bitcoin, you're loaning your money to the lords of entropy. You're loaning your money to the gods of chaos. What's the bet? The bet is that chaos will outperform cities, companies, countries, cultures. It's a profound idea. I place you in Europe before World War II. I give you a lot of money, and I give you a choice. You can buy any piece of land in any country. You can buy any building. You can own any company in Europe. You can own art in Europe. You can invest in the currencies and the bonds of Europe. Imagine I give you a choice of buying any asset in any nation that's about to be a combatant in World War II, or you can own the one bank in Switzerland that's going to hold all the money of all the combatants. And you see, if you own that Swiss bank, and everybody puts their money in the bank, and the war comes, chaos comes. And the war is a metaphor for chaos and entropy accelerated in 4 years. What you realize is every building is risky. It may be blown up. Every company will probably collapse. Any piece of land may or may not have value. The rents and the rental contracts will probably be torn up. The currencies will all collapse. And in fact, the more chaos, the more destruction and devastation, the more valuable that one bank. In fact, if everybody puts their money in the bank, all the Amazon computers, all the Microsoft computers, and it turned them all to attack the Bitcoin network, it couldn't stop that message. It might slow it down by 10%. And so you start to see the logic of Satoshi and what real digital power is to be able to stand against a nation-state attack of all the computers that a nation can marshal against you. If you have that kind of cybersecurity, you can actually defend your entire civilization. You can defend your money transfers, your banking network, your news networks, your social media networks against a hostile attack. And right now, you can argue that most of the problems we have in our world are because those social networks are in chaos. Right? The massive debate right now is misinformation, and we can't agree on whether or not the person who posted the thing is even a person. remember the Russian intelligence thing? Is it Russian intelligence? Is it Chinese intelligence? Is it North Korean intelligence? Or is it a real person lives in the real country and nobody knows? So I think people are going to start to become aware, because of the AI threat, that you need cyber power, and there's no shortcut to cyber power. There's no simple trick. Like this idea of Nostr. Nostr was, I'm going to create my own public-private key combination, and I can post the thing I want, and nobody can stop it. Good idea, but the problem is, I can create 1 billion Nostr bots. And so there is no solution to the problem that doesn't include digital power or proof of work, which is the basis of the Bitcoin network. If you're not converting gigawatts of electricity into exahash, you don't have power. If you don't have power, it's like you have no Navy, you have no Air Force, you're getting bombed back to the Stone Age, and it's inevitable. And so any nation state that wishes to maintain its sovereignty in the 21st century is going to have to be able to control its cyberspace. And Bitcoin is the key to that, because it is the most powerful and perhaps the only truly secure cyber network in the world right now.
Well, in terms of proof of work, what does that mean with regards to the idea of mining? Because the Biden administration, for example, wants to put a 30% tax on Bitcoin mining under the guise of, or under the idea of it not being environmentally sound. And I know that's a conversation we've had before, and I know because of the idea of the mining that's required for the proof of work to maintain the blockchain, you came up with the Bitcoin Mining Council to address the environmental concerns. Where do things stand with that?
Well, first of all, if the administration proposed a 30% tax on data centers, and Google and Facebook announced they're moving their data centers to China, everybody would have a cow. When they realized that it's a national security threat to lose the digital mining, the Bitcoin mining business in the United States, I think the people in the DoD will actually put a spike in it. I don't think there's any bipartisan support. The Democrats on Capitol Hill and the Republicans on Capitol Hill won't be in favor of it, so I think it'll get killed on Capitol Hill. I think the most important thing is to understand that a Bitcoin miner is a digital power center. And so what you're talking about is eliminating the digital power industry from your own country. And when they think about it a bit, they'll realize that then that goes to a country that they like less than the U.S. And you wouldn't want all your aircraft and all your ships to move to the countries that you don't like. So I don't think it will happen. Obviously, I think it's no more intelligent than driving the data center business or the electricity business out of the U.S. Right? They're both not good ideas. Occasionally, things like this get floated. Mostly they're guerrilla marketing activities by non-con competitors. Someone else that is threatened by Bitcoin wants to weaponize the political process or the tax process to undermine the competitor, and they insert that in a friendly politician's ear. But I think that they will die on Capitol Hill within reason.
Speaking of mining and the miners, obviously the idea of ordinals has brought some debate there with the mining power that's required for ordinals, which for our viewers is an NFT inscribed in a Satoshi, which is the smallest denominator of a Bitcoin. That's blocked up the blockchain. You've said that you see ordinals as a catalyst for Bitcoin adoption, although some would argue that it's contrary to or detract from the sound money argument of Bitcoin, and that because the transaction fees are so high, and it's more, correct me if I'm wrong, profitable for a miner to work with the inscription of an ordinal than it is to facilitate a Bitcoin traditional transaction. It may detract from, again, the original mission of Bitcoin.
Let's start with the big picture. People in the crypto ecosystem are losing faith in every crypto asset except Bitcoin, and capital is flowing from the other crypto assets to Bitcoin. The regulators are attacking every crypto exchange, every DeFi exchange, every crypto token, every cryptocurrency except Bitcoin. If you read 10,000 pages of hostile regulatory action, the word that's conspicuously missing is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is actually the low-risk asset. It's the ethical asset. All this crypto development effort that was taking place on the other cryptos, I think all the developers realized that when the dust settles, the only network that's still going to be around, the low-risk network that is least likely to be stopped by the regulators is Bitcoin. So if you're going to build on something, you want to build on a network that is the most secure politically and the most secure technically. If you're going to use, if you're going to run on gas, if the gas is an unregistered securities, it's securities fraud. Okay, it's illegal. It's unethical. You're going to jail. Okay, so using gas that's a token that's deemed an unregistered security is an ethical lapse. So what you see here with ordinals and inscriptions is you see intelligent developers saying, who's the winner? Bitcoin. What's the ethical network? Bitcoin. Which one is least likely to get me shut down? Bitcoin. Which one is technically most sound? Bitcoin. So what did I do? I did all these other things. Well, can I do them on Bitcoin? Sure I can. And if I'm doing them on Bitcoin, then I have a reasonable chance of commercial success, right? Like, if you burn a monkey JPEG and you burn it on an unregistered security and you're wash trading the unregistered security, okay, it's unethical and it's also stupid. If you burn it on Bitcoin, it just may be stupid, but it's not unethical or illegal. So I'm not here to endorse ordinals or any particular, I'm not a crypto dick bot person. Like, I'm not gonna support, or promote that sort of thing. However, the bigger idea is, what if I could burn a hash, attach it to a Satoshi? Or what if I could inscribe any piece of rare data and I could put it onto the blockchain forever? Well, there are certain types of messages that I would want to send where no one could stop them. If I needed to get a message from point A to point B in the middle of a war, and I was being denial of service attacked, and I wanted a network that could actually overcome a nation state attempting to stop me from saying the message, Bitcoin is the way to send the message. If you had $1 billion document, I have a will, it's got $1 billion in it, I basically sign it, 30 pages, I create the document, and then I put it in a vault, and 35 years from now, some lawyer takes it out and they change a few words and they just redirect all the money to someone else and nobody knows. The witnesses are dead, the notary is dead. How do you make the will tamper-proof? Well, the answer is simple. Is I take the will, I hash the will, I burn the hash on the Bitcoin blockchain. I say Michael Saylor, inscribed his will on this date. There's the hash code. And then I tell my heirs and my lawyers and the entire general public, there's the hash. The will comes out, they hash the will, doesn't match the hash. If it does match the hash, then that's probably the will. And if it doesn't match the hash, then whoever's trying to defraud the general public is not going to be able to get away with it. So there are ethical, economically sound reasons to burn a hash or burn a timestamp into the blockchain. Corporate resolutions are a simple example. Companies make resolutions all the time that keep secret from the general public, but have billion-dollar impacts. And 10 years from now, they have to prove that they made the resolution and stamp it. So MicroStrategy is providing an institutional gateway to a public company investor that makes it much, much easier to get Bitcoin exposure and own it. In the same way that, hey, if I was running a REIT and I owned a bunch of apartment buildings in Miami Beach, and you said to me, hey, why don't you just let the public company investors invest in their own apartment buildings in Miami Beach? I mean, the answer is they don't want to go and run apartment buildings in Miami Beach. It's a pain in the ass, and they don't know which ones to own, and they're worried about, the inspections, the insurance, the taxing, et cetera.
I get it. The key here, I think what you brought up in the beginning of your statement is that it is a commodity and not a security. Gary Gensler has said that everything besides Bitcoin and the cryptosphere is a security and not a commodity, with Bitcoin being the exception. My question is, do you think that will change the regulatory landscape such that Bitcoin will one day have to be classified as a security and then you'll have to reposition?
No, I think that when we made this decision originally, back in the summer of 2020, we scanned all 10,000 cryptos at the time, and one of the questions was, which one is the asset without the issuer? Which one is the commodity? Which one is the most decentralized? And our conclusion at that point was Bitcoin is a commodity. So legally, the legal sophisticated opinion 3 years ago was Bitcoin is the obvious commodity. Everything else is a question mark. What's happened since then, in the next 34 months or such since we started this journey, is consensus has formed that indeed is the case. So since we made that determination with our attorneys, we've had Janet Yellen endorse Bitcoin as an innovation. We've had Christina Lagarde say it's an asset. We've had Jerome Powell say it's an asset. We've had Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, in multiple congressional testimonies and documents and interviews assert it is a commodity. We've had the head of the CFTC assert it's a commodity. So and we've also had members on both sides of the aisle in Congress and in the work for you potentially in a matter of days, and you'll generate a new product, in a matter of weeks. So I see a world of high velocity talent and high velocity trading and high velocity technology pursuing all of the greatest challenges the human race faces with extraordinary intensity and extraordinary effectiveness. I think it's a good thing for the world, a good thing for everybody involved, and it's better for economic well-being as well as for political well-being for all of us to be able to work with each other. There's nothing, if you study genetics, like watch a spider and watch a bird, and you ever say to yourself, how'd that spider figure out how to do that? There's no school for spiders. There's no school for birds. And yet somehow the strand of DNA gives them the information they need to do intricate things. And the conclusion you come to is, in the 8 billion people in the human race, everybody's got good genes, and there are geniuses, and there's extraordinary talent everywhere. But people are held back by economic and political circumstance. And what we need to do is unleash the power of human creativity and human talent. And the way you do it is by giving people access to all the information they need and all the tools they need, regardless of where they're born and their economic circumstance.
Derek. Derek, how you doing? I haven't tried it yet, but we got it because I still got to get on the website.
Well, Amazon sells 45 pounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. And I also
Oh, that's great. Go to Opera. Opera is good. Opera is
All right, Derek. Good to see you, bro.
Sun's up.